Hi guys, today we're going to talk about all the features in PracticeCS with respect to project management that we need to be using at BGW in order to effectively manage our projects and do our best efforts to meet our maximum 25-day turnaround on tax projects, 45-day turnaround on a test project. So today I'm going to show you the functionality that is the most effective in terms of managing projects and understanding what you need to be doing on a weekly, monthly basis in order to get information in the door, get items reviewed, and get things out the door, and what tools you're going to use in your status meetings between project managers, relationship leaders, and project staff. So the first thing that I want to cover off on is what is the critical information that you need to always have in a project information sheet. Usually the trigger for this is that someone has handed you a routing sheet or you're about to hand out a routing sheet. So let's start with where that routing sheet data goes with respect to a project. So if I want to see all projects without having to run a report, I go to Clients, Manage Projects. In this case, I'm going to search for Kevin Bilderback because I know that project is open. And here I find Kevin Bilderback. So if I go look at Kevin Bilderback, I can highlight the row. Down here, I can see exactly where the project's at and who's assigned to do what. And I go to Edit Selected Project to see the project details. All right, here's where we get to the fun stuff. So the first key item that you need to look at in terms of our projects are the actual dates up here. And the key thing here is, when did we actually receive information from the client? Now, in terms of receiving information from the client, that's when we've really received most of the information from the client. That's not, I dropped off a W-2 or I gave you a trial balance if it's a business return. It's literally, when did I have enough stuff to really start the job? Now, if you want to go ahead and log a receive date when a client gives you a piece of information, that's fine. We'll talk about statuses in a second, but when you really get all the information that you need to do the job, or at least the majority of information that you need to do your job, that's when you're going to go ahead and log the real receive date. All right? So with that in mind, we got to figure out, well, who the heck is working on this project? So within a project, there are a couple key fields that we pull information on based on what's specified in the routing sheet. So in this case, key item number one is, who is the client relationship leader? That's here. That's who has the ultimate responsibility for making sure this project goes out the door. The second is, this is a tax project, who's the project manager? In the case of the project manager, that's who's going to be reviewing the tax return itself. In this case, it's Rebecca Cole. Lastly is, who is going to prepare the project? That's going to be down here, Jenna. So in all cases, all three of these fields need to be populated. Now, they may not be populated when you get a routing sheet. However, it's the recipient of the routing sheet's responsibility to make sure that these three fields are always populated on their project. That's the key information number one, in addition to the actual receive date. The second piece of information that's important that you'll want to put in the routing sheet is who's doing what in terms of tasks. Now, these are a little bit out of order. I can't really tell you why. So an easy way to sort that is like this. And you can see how we're going to go ahead and review information. So in this case, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. This is going to be a two-step review. It's not going to need to be a third step. So it's going to go from Jenna to Rebecca. It's going to skip this step, but it'll need to be completed, assembled, and then we give it to the client. So all these need to be populated as well when you receive your project routing sheet with who is actually going to do the work. As you finish the work, you highlight, hit Edit Selected Task, and go ahead and hit Completed. That's how you complete a task. I'm not going to do that now because this tax return is still in process, but that's how you complete a task. You can also do it from the time entry screen, which I will show you in a moment. All right, so let's say we're working on this project. Right now this project is saying that it started, but darn it, Kevin, he owes us information on his rental house. We had enough to get started, but we just don't have enough information to go ahead and finish that Schedule E. Well, in that case, we would change the tracking status to waiting on client. Started means that it started, and that happens automatically when you first enter time. So once you first enter time to this project, it's going to go ahead and start it. It's also going to set these target start dates and target complete dates. If you'd like to change those based on commitment dates that you've made, you can. But what I like to do is I like to just look at the receive date and try to knock things out in a first in, first out order, unless someone has told me that we've made a commitment that we need to honor, in which case I'd probably go in and change this target complete date to when it really had to go out the door because we had a client commitment. Now, in terms of changing dates, what you'll want to do is only change this target complete date, like I said, if you've made some sort of a firm commitment to the client that would be something less than 25 days or some other firm commitment that you made. In terms of the actual receive dates, we really shouldn't change those unless, as I specified, we went ahead and set the receive date when we really didn't have enough information to start the project. So once we've got enough information to start the project, we really ought to have this date locked and loaded. We use that for a lot of other reporting information, and what we're really trying to determine is, are we doing a good job of getting things out the door that are entirely in our control, and are we following up with our clients to get information in? So what we use this for is we look at, if we didn't hit our 25-day turnaround, why didn't we hit it? Was that us or was it the client? What can we do to improve things? So try to keep this receive date pretty set once you've got everything that you need to get the project done. All right. So with that in mind, how do I find out the information that I need to do my status meetings? This is my favorite way to look at information that I need to be working on. I go back to Firm, I go to Print Reports, and you can really use any one of these project tracking reports, but I'm going to go ahead and use the one called Project Tracking. All right, and now I need to come up with my criteria. So I already have my criteria set for this demonstration, but let me talk about what each one of these things is. So first off, I need to know what date am I using as my driver for figuring out which projects I need to be working on. Well, in our case, we want to use the project actual receive date. The only limitation that you'll find in this is that this won't show you projects that are not received yet. I will go over how to do that report in a minute, but this is going to show you everything that's in-house that you should be working on. It's not going to show you anything that doesn't have an actual receive date because we're asking for project actual received, and we've got something already populated here. The second thing that we want to do is go ahead and pick the tracking description because we don't want to look at completed projects. We only want to look at stuff that's in-house, we haven't started, or we're waiting on the client. So we pick tracking description is in the list, and then we have the capability to pick status. I'm going to go ahead and remove them all so you can see how we do that. You just pick it, hit select, pick it, hit select, pick it, hit select. Now I have the three statuses that I want for things that are already in-house. Okay, And let's say that I'm Rebecca, I'm the person reviewing projects, and I want to get ready for my status meetings. Well, I come in here, and I've got a bunch of different fields that I could choose from, but I pick Project Manager is specified staff, and I'm going to type in my last name, and here I am. Okay, well that's great. Now I've got a report. Now I want to get the layout like I want to see it. So I'm going to go to the Layout tab, and since I'm going to be using this for project status meetings, I want it grouped by staff people. So when I'm meeting with Jenna, or meeting with Heather, or meeting with Daniel, I can be really focused on just the information that I need to share with them. And if I want to get even better, I can go ahead and do this page break so it's broken up onto separate pages. So I would pick project staff, project tracking. This will set it up into my categories of we're working on it versus we're waiting on the client. And then I want to go ahead and detail it by receive date in ascending order, because that'll give me my first in, first out criteria. When I'm done with that, I could go ahead and hit print. I'm not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and preview it. So I hit preview. And here we go. So the first problem that I see is I've got a project that's in-house that doesn't have any staff person assigned to it. Well, what likely happened in this case is the staff person didn't go in and pick themselves as the project staff. So I'm going to go find that staff person that I gave this to and tell them to go fix it in our status meeting together. The second thing I'm going to ask them is, well, hey, this has been in here until April 12th. Since April 12th, where are we at with that? It says it started. Are you done drafting it? Do you have any questions for me? Where's it sitting in our queue? Because this is coming up on our turnaround time that we need to be getting this tax return out the door. Okay. Same thing. Same thing. So now I'm meeting with Daniel. Daniel's got a bunch of things that are waiting on the client. So when I'm having my status meeting with Daniel, we're going to go through these, figure out what we're waiting, and I'm going to determine what I need to do to escalate to get in the information that I need to go ahead and get these projects out the door, because it looks like they've been sitting at BGW for a while waiting on client. So here's the project that we looked at before. Kevin Bilderback. Looks like it started. I would want to find out where it's at. Do I need to review it? Do I owe you items? Where exactly are we sitting at? That's how I would use this report for the purposes of my status meetings if I'm Rebecca Cole. Conversely, if I'm the project staff person and I want to find out what's the stuff that I'm working on and I need to be prepared on, or I need to be prepared for status meetings for, I would do a little bit of tailoring to the report that I just looked at. So to go back, I'm going to click on back, and I'm going to change my criteria. I still like the same items here. And don't worry about this project template ID. I just did this for the purposes of this exercise. But what I would change is, let's say I'm Jenna. I would say project staff is, so I'll pick Daniel. Okay, I'm going to go back to my layout. In this case, I want to sort it by project leader, because I want to be prepared for my status meetings. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that. Have everything else the same. I'm going to go ahead and click preview, and let's see what we got. All right, so I have a few things here that need to be reassigned, it looks like. So when I have my status meeting with any of these guys, Charles, whomever, what I want to find out is, what's the status of Norris Steel? Do I owe you anything? Do you owe me anything? Where are we at with this particular project in part of your status meetings? Lastly, if I want to have a relationship leader view of things, I might keep the same sort over here, but instead of picking the project staff, I would pick the client relationship leader is, in this case, I'm going to pick Richard Blum. All right, so now I can see exactly where I'm at with my projects. In this case, Richard is also the detailed reviewer. So the way I might do things a little bit differently is I would say layout, project staff, hit preview again. There we go. Andrew, we're having a conversation about these two clients. Connor, we're having a conversation about this client. Matt, we're having a conversation about this client. And I know exactly who I need to go to for what to find out where we're at. All right. Now let's say I'm having the same status meeting, but I want to find out projects that are not in-house yet, because I want to go ahead and start figuring out who do we need to call to get those projects in-house. If I'm going to do this, then an easy way to get the report that I'm looking for is to come down here to receive date is blank. The other thing that I want to do is I want to change my project current due date to be the current year, although it should work this way, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that anyway. To be, and I'm going to go with project current due date. This should give me everything that is not in-house. I'll also need to change the tracking description. Easiest way to do that is to go ahead and say, actually it should be not started, so we should be fine there still. Let's go ahead and preview and see what we get. All right, so we got stuff that is not in-house yet. So what I want to do is, again, follow up to find out if it is in-house, why isn't the receive date set? If it's not in-house, are we following up with the client to try to get it in-house? And I'm going to use these in my individual status meetings to go ahead and find out where we're at. So that's how we use the project management features within PracticeCS. Now I'll show you one last item here. That is with time entry. If you're managing a project, this is just a real easy way to enter your time and statuses as you see fit. Go to time and expense entry. I'm going to go ahead and pretend to be Rebecca Culligan so that I know that my project will come up. Client, we're working on builder back. All right, so here I picked the project. It's this federal income tax return. Automatically this comes up. What I can do is I can go ahead and hit complete selected task. That goes ahead and says the task is now done. Could also pick it here if I wanted to and use a custom task, but I like doing the complete task over here. Enter in my time, and then we're done. Project completed. My step in the project is completed. It's been routed to the next person. My time's entered, and we are good to go. So I know that was a lot of information, but that hits the basics of what we should be doing every single time with every single project within PracticeCS. Hope this was helpful.